What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video of me reacting to the To Be Better podcast. This is my ex-wife, Peaches, and her husband, Chris. They just recently hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Big round of applause for them. Big accomplishments. I haven't been watching their content, so I'm already out of breath as I literally just took 10 minutes to put this jacket on because I was just everywhere. It was really stupid. Well, they just hit this big, huge milestone, and I know that they did their interview with Pamela Duff, and I haven't been watching their content, particularly because we don't actually agree on a lot, but we do agree on a lot. I mean, I'm not going to say I disagree with a majority or I agree with the majority of the content because I haven't been able to actually sit down and watch their content. It's not really big on me. I'm not huge on mental health. I don't really care. As a matter of fact, I find the opposite of mental health very hilarious. So let's kick this into high gear and let's see where we go from here.
So we are here. We are actually interviewing Pamela Duff. She is a mental health counselor. I'm pretty stoked about this. Yeah. How are you feeling about this?
I'm good about it. I've been waiting to do this for a while now. I have so many questions and want to pick so many brains, and this is exciting for me. Yeah. I've been wanting this whole interview thing to happen, to evolve the podcast for so long, and I feel like that evolution is really going.
Now here it's good to kind of point out that this evolution, obviously, I literally just talked about how they got to 100K. It is like an evolution, definitely, but I don't think that they actually, I'm not certain, because sometimes she'll text me and be like, hey, this is the truth and you're kind of not saying it correctly, and I'm like, oh, my bad, okay, sorry, and then I'll correct myself. But I don't actually think that they're licensed for mental health or anything, or to give this kind of advice. But I mean, clearly they have success to show, at least if it's not extremely culty.
So Pamela, can you tell us a little bit about what you do and what your field is, so that everybody can kind of understand exactly, because you recommended choice theory to us.
Yes.
And that is a huge thing in our lives right now, especially in Discord. So
okay. Yeah, I'm a mental health counselor, so most of my focus is on traditional talk therapy. So I basically sit and talk to people through their problems for about 6 to 8 hours a day. It's focused a little bit on mental illness, but a lot of it's more holistic. So I'm not like,
holy shit, her quality is so bad. Look at the light behind. I understand that's not your profession. It's really, I shouldn't criticize, but the exposure in this room is actually blinding me.
Like a psychologist, where I'm coming in, diagnose, and then going from there. It's a lot more whole person centered.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot for me to process.
That was a little awkward.
I work with adults.
Adults strictly. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you see a lot of, or do you experience a lot of crazy things? Like sometimes you have to really work through some issues that somebody might have. Do you do that often?
That's the job, right?
What? Yeah, definitely. I mean, sometimes.
What? Do you have to work through some people's issues? That's the entire job. I thought that's her. I thought that's the entire profession. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. It is wild to me because I have a terrible L take on mental health, is that I don't really believe in mental illness. I think it's fucking bullshit. The whole diagnosing people with it thing, I don't actually fall in that category of believing that.
People are in crisis when they're in session. Other times they're calm, cool, and collected. Sometimes we're just joking around. Other times it's very serious. It's really just whatever the person is bringing to the table that day.
Yeah,
so
that's
you
the
do
whole
have
job.
Experience with the extremes when it comes to the mental health.
You should.
Oh,
as
yes.
a psychiatrist.
I started my career actually working at a methadone clinic, so it was
wow
intense at first.
I imagine that's intense. I've seen
some
holy
shit
videos.
That's wild.
Yeah,
methadone.
It can be a bit wild.
Holy shit.
Do you with what you do in your practice, you said that you don't diagnose, that you don't work on the psychiatric side of things, so you're not dealing with the mental illness as much. Do you do a lot of couples therapy, or is it just standalone? What exactly is it that you specialize in? I think that's probably where we need to start.
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so I work with adults and usually with individuals, although I have done couples counseling. I don't prefer it just because I really think a lot of issues with couples can be addressed on a one-to-one basis a lot better because a lot of it comes down to issues within the person that they're bringing into the relationship.
That
So
makes
I just
sense.
prefer to work that way, although that's not to discredit marriage counseling at all. My specialty areas are anxiety, life transitions, and just general wellness. So I would say I don't see a lot of like significant mental illness in my practice, although from time to time it does show up. So I can still diagnose, I still have to run insurance, all of those things. It's just
I gotta turn that
less
off.
of my focus because when I find when you label people in that way very intensely, a lot of the time it causes
Yeah.
them to be more disempowered.
Who wants to be labeled? Who wants to be labeled? That's why I don't like the whole concept of diagnosing someone with mental illness. Like, oh, you're bipolar. Like, how do you want somebody to react when you label them with a mental illness like that? Like, how do you want them? Like, I say I have anxiety, but I don't think it's like a mental thing because every time I have anxiety, it's not like from something. It's not like I'm thinking about something. It's just my heart rate explodes. I get sweaty. My feet get extremely frozen, chills, and that's just all body. Like, it's never because there's actually something in my mind that I'm worried about or that I'm anxious about. My anxiety is always like a body high for some reason. So I don't even know if I want to consider my personal anxiety as like mental in the slightest.
And use it as an identity piece and kind of a reason to continue certain patterns.
We've been saying that a lot
Yeah, we
over the
have.
last couple weeks.
Mhm.
Yep. People,
Yeah, I was
where is the
hearing that
hello,
and I
my
was like,
name
oh,
is.
they get it.
Right.
It's
So
their,
you are the one who recommended choice
personality.
theory to us. What brought choice theory to your attention?
I guess it was something that I always kind of thought about
What is choice theory?
interacting with people and about like how the world functioned, but it was more on like
We
a
get like a
back
summary.
burner. So like it wasn't like forefront in my mind,
We
like,
find
oh,
like
I
a
practice
summary.
choice theory like that until I became a counselor. And one of the things they have you do is kind of specialize your theoretical orientation, which is like the lens that you view a person through. So I took a
Okay.
quiz in a book actually, and it spits out choice theory reality therapy, and it's such a small like theory in the scope of like counseling as a whole that I had never even heard of it. I didn't know what it was.
Bro, choice theory is like actually what I believe, because I literally just made a video saying that your reactions, all your emotions is like your choice, is like you decide to react that way. So choice theory states, this is a summary because I'm not going to read the whole fucking thing because I don't need the whole fucking thing. Choice theory states that all we do is behave, that almost all behavior is chosen, and that we are driven. Why is there a period behind that? That's dumb. That we are driven by our genes to satisfy 5 basic needs: survival, love and belonging, power, freedom, and fun.
So
Like where we're
I did a
going.
bunch of research on it and I read the book Choice Theory and I was just like, holy shit, this is what
You
I've
read
been
the whole
thinking
book?
the entire time. It was probably
I
like
read the
one of the
summary.
most validating things I've ever
I
read.
figured it out in 2
Yeah,
seconds.
this book is absolutely insane.
The most validating thing she's ever read. That's
Yeah.
how I felt when I ran through the book.
Yeah.
I had that moment of like, I've believed this
You
since I
just
was
see
a teenager.
the glare in his
I'm
eyes.
I'm not in that.
He's
medical
so in
field, but
love
this
with
is
it.
the way that I've lived my life.
Right.
And now there's like a term behind it. It
I like
definitely
that he's
makes
happy.
you feel like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like,
Right.
it is your choice,
Yep.
Yeah. Reading
Yeah.
through it, it sounds like just what you would think is a lot of common sense.
Right.
So like this is something that I say actually all the time, is that the government and society will do anything to shove the idea that you are like hardwired a certain way, that like this is an illness, you have this, you have an illness, you need to take prescriptions and become a fucking vegetable. It's like, no, you're just unskilled, you're not emotionally intelligent, you don't know how to fucking properly handle yourself. I know my biggest issue. My biggest issue is my reactions to things. When I'm alone and nobody's fucking with me, I'm fine. When someone starts fucking with me, I just big time fuck you every time, no matter what, no matter who it is. Is it someone I love, someone I don't love? If they fuck with me, I fuck with them. That's just the only bad thing I really have.
Brought forward in this way, it was like,
Whatever.
oh shit, maybe I do know what I'm talking about. This is really cool. At least that was what it was for me.
Reality
get it!
changing stuff right there.
Wait, where am
Hell
I?
yes.
How
Yeah, I'm not full
exhausting
stream.
is it doing what you do for 6 to 8 hours a day? Because we only do it three hours at a time, twice, sometimes 3 times a week, and it's taxing when you get off of work.
I sure don't. I cook with my boyfriend and then kind of like chill out because it can be really intense. It depends on the day because, like I said, everybody brings something different in each day, each session. And I'm more of an introverted person. So a lot of the time, like it takes all of my social
Right.
battery to do this job, but it's worth it at the same time.
How does that affect your relationship?
Um, it really doesn't affect my relationship. I think if we would have met a couple years ago when I was newer into the practice and I hadn't like learned boundaries and my own
feel like
like
that's
self-regulation skills, I probably would have brought it in and been a lot more frazzled and stressed. But like as I've grown over the years of my career, I've kind of learned how to cut that off at the end of the day and be like,
Yeah.
this is time for
That's
me to
pretty
be a
good.
person now.
So, with what you do as a career, how would you say that this has helped you progress with your own mental health?
Ooh. I think it was very illuminating because I definitely went into the field with this mentality of like, I'm just a scientist. I want to study this. None of this
I'm just a
applies to me.
scientist.
And then when I started talking to people through certain issues and then learning about some of the diagnoses, some of like,
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
I pattern after some of this too. And that like kind of sparked me to go, hey, maybe I need to go to therapy. Maybe I need to reflect a little bit more. Than
Yeah,
I
I've done that.
Have
It's
you guys ever seen
yeah.
that meme of the Spider-Man pointing at the Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Like they
No!
catch each
Oh,
other?
okay.
That's,
I thought you were about to
that's
do
how
the
I
Green
felt
Goblin thing that
when
I
I
just
started
did.
like catching on to things, and I'm like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
all right, autism makes sense to me now.
You're like, why did this always kind of bother me before? I don't know. And then you're like, oh, because it's
Yeah, it's because that's me. Get that little
Yep.
flashlight looking around that room in there, and you're like, ooh, a lot of
Mhm.
mirrors in this bedroom.
Exactly.
Stop!
Looked like you had
Stop
something
it. I'm
to
good.
say.
Well, we went to breakfast this morning. While we were at breakfast, we had a conversation of
shit.
actors and people who are in relationships that are dating actors, or who are actor and actress that are dating, and how you never know if they're acting or if their relationship is
Like they're being
genuine in the
genuine.
moment, right?
Ooh.
And
Yeah.
that made me think
That's a
about the
weird
interview
one.
that we were going to have later. And I was going to ask you, when you are having
Why?
conflict and you're doing conflict resolution in the moment with your partner,
Okay.
are you able to
Bakers?
step out of that therapist and like process your emotions while in conflict, or do you?
She's got to make an insight check. This is Dungeons and Dragons. She has to roll her dice to make an insight check to make sure that her patient isn't being untruthful or like isn't lying to her. Like, that's kind of what I'm getting out of this.
Analyze while going because that's a very like that would be
That's
a
a valid
very
good
exhausting,
question.
difficult thing to deal
That
with.
is a good question.
Yeah, I do step out of it, but it is a very active decision. Like I have to sit there and kind of like do this like, you're not a therapist right now. You're not trying to guide anybody to the answer. You're not trying to get them on their own path. Like this is your life. This is your shit. Like you need to participate in it and not be, kind of like taking that
I need a
backseat role
water.
that therapists often do is we're guiding, we're helping you come to the answer. We're not telling you what to do.
Right.
So like, yeah, it definitely doesn't show up in my relationship in that way. I have to be very careful not to bring it in actually.
That's good.
That is good. Yeah, the way that I view that is that you're no longer the little red laser. You're the cat.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
You've got a whole
Yeah.
lot going on in your personal life. I mean,
I'm not
I
going to
don't know.
process that analogy.
We don't go through that. So like, even though we do the emails,
I don't need to.
we are addressing things ahead of time so that if it comes into our lives, we know how to approach the conversation because we've already had it while not in conflict. But I couldn't
Okay.
imagine not having what we have and then having the knowledge we have and getting into an argument with somebody and being like, okay, I see what you're doing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I disagree.
There is an impulse every once in a while. I'm like, or like I want to use like therapeutic jargon, and then I'm like, no, that's your job. That's what you get paid for. We need to leave that.
Yeah.
We need to leave that over there because
Yeah.
you're still a human being.
So are you
Mhm.
currently caught up on the podcast?
I got through the one that was released on Monday. Like
There's
halfway,
hours
so
of
I
shit to
was listening
watch.
the part about the bagpipes and like that's where I'm
Okay.
at right now.
Okay.
Could you imagine?
no
if you
way.
listened to the bagpipes?
I could.
Please.
It could be cheap
For the
ones.
love
I
of
wouldn't-
God, no one send us bagpipes.
Beginner ones for $90.
My God. Ah, this is gonna be so good.
Jordan found a set of bagpipes on Facebook for like $650, and he sent them to me. And I'm like, "Don't you fucking
That's
send
so
those to
much.
her, dude."
People are looking. I have scouts.
You do. You really do.
Bagpipes are fire.
All
What's
my
wrong with
dreams are gonna come
bagpipes?
true. I could do it in the backyard, off in the corner.
It just
So you just hear it distantly. It'll be like Braveheart.
Yes, it's more haunting that way when it's from a
Right.
distance. Yes.
Yeah.
So as somebody who,
haunting.
I'm assuming when you are working through things with a client, you need detail. Right? Without the detail, there's really not much you can do besides go, I empathize. Good luck.
Well, okay, I'm assuming that the client actually has to provide that detail instead of just beating around the bush, being that fake celebrity actor and holy shit, I always shake my mic. Being that fake celebrity actor and actually being truthful and delivering that detail is probably a necessary factor of that. Obviously, like that's a weird. I mean, it's not a weird question. It's like an obvious question, but like at the same time, it's what the whole thing is about. What's up with you viewers? What? Stop needing help with the obvious shit. Like it's so, like people get so lost and distracted by their own love that when they're like they forget how to act. Like when you're single, all this stuff is easy. Like you just look at all the other people going through exactly what these crazy people go through, and you realize, oh, they're crazy because they can't see the problems because they're too busy choosing love over their life. Like they're gonna fucking end up dying because of how much they love their significant other.
Exactly.
So in the moments where you're talking with a client, say they're in like a high anxious state, and they start throwing out terms like he's a narcissistic abuser or they're constantly gaslighting me. Are those terms that make your job harder?
You
or is
gaslight
that
me,
something that you're
Peaches.
able to dissect when they say it and understand what they mean?
He
Oh,
does.
that's a good question.
Oh yeah.
It does.
Actually, you see this a lot now because I see a lot of like college students. So like Gen Z is on the up and up with like all the terms. All right. So
Right.
they're constantly bringing these things in, but a lot of the
They're
times
the
they
smart
misunderstand the
ones.
terms,
Mhm.
which makes it a little tricky. So generally, when people start throwing that around, my first question to them is, well, what does that mean to you? What does that look like in this person? What does it
Okay.
mean to be dating a narcissist? Because sometimes people just throw out these labels that have like not really very much behind it.
I literally made an entire video talking about how I was a self-proclaimed narcissist. Literally in the entire video, I was basically saying that people don't understand the difference between narcissism and like other things like gaslighting. They think it's all just bundled up into one thing, and a narcissist is a sociopath, a narcissist is fucking all this shit. A narcissism is literally just someone that loves themselves excessively and is genuinely apathetic to most people. It's not like apathetic to everybody. Like, yes, I care about my people who are close to me that I love. I care about my children. I care about the mother of my children. I care about her husband. Like, literally, Peaches is the mother of my children. Like, I'm not going to be a piece of shit to her. I don't want to be a piece of shit to her. Again, the only time I get agitated is when I react to things. Like, I'm not a fucking asshole outright, unless, I mean, I come at you and criticize you for something that you did wrong, which I will probably do, and it will have logic and reasoning behind it. Yay!
So we have to explore that piece.
Okay, so somebody who works in the field, those statements can be very vague for you.
Yes, because
Okay.
like I have an understanding what like a narcissist would mean, but like that doesn't mean that my client necessarily does have the same textbook understanding that I.
Oh my god, you're not the same person, and you don't understand the same things in the same way, and it's incredibly specific per person. God, who'd have thunk it?
Right.
What would you say the biggest misgeneralization is of somebody calling someone a narcissist? I have a deep-seated hatred for that word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say
What is the biggest
that's a really tough
generalization?
question. It really bothers me a lot too when it's brought up very like.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it because I've said it. I think that the biggest generalization is that narcissism is a fucking zip file of a plethora of other problems, like how I said gaslighting and being a sociopath. Literally, like, I feel like people believe narcissism is some kind of zip file that contains all these other files in it.
Casually.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's just like this label thrown onto people, like, oh well, he's a narcissist, and it's almost always used as like a dismissive way to talk about a past partner.
Okay.
And they
It is,
can't
yeah.
all be narcissists. They just can't.
Right.
It's statistically not likely.
Yep.
That was
Oh,
a
that's
good
a
way to
meme.
put that. A very passive way to talk about an ex-partner.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's
Throw a
good.
label on and then cast aside, and that's not helpful for anybody.
Right. It also removes all the accountability from the conversation because they're throwing all the shade on them versus looking inward.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's just, well, I was victimized in this situation. And there are absolutely cases of victimization and abuse in relationships, but a lot of the times there are other pieces going on that you are contributing to in one way or another. Like, even if it's just the decision to stay.
Right.
Right.
Literally,
This
the
is so
decision to stay.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Just break up. If you don't like each other, break up.
While he's up walking around, I appreciate you taking the time to do this with us tonight.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me on. It was really cool, like getting that request from you.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly, when I like reached out to you about choice theory, I had no real intention. I just felt very like in the moment, like I needed to share this book with you guys. I don't even remember what it was that you were talking about. I was just like, if they don't know this already, they have to have this.
I'm so glad that you did reach out because this book is
Life-changing.
right. Like you guys said, it's very validating. I'm reading this and I'm like, that's right, Mom.
Yeah.
I know what I'm
Yes.
talking about.
I've ran through the book 3 times now, and the only
I'm sorry. I can't comprehend, man. I just can't comprehend that they have read books and have been uploading over 1,000 plus videos for the last 6 months, but they still need validation for, like, I don't get it. I don't get that. Like, I don't. Maybe it's just a frequency. I guess, like, for me, my frequency of needing validation is a lot different than other people's frequency of needing validation. I only need validation from maybe my partner specifically or from my friends, circumstantially every once in a while. Like, I don't need validation for, like, who I am and the decisions that I make and why I made them. I don't know. I maybe I do sometimes. Like, I stare off into the void, fucking peering at the ocean on the cliffside or some shit like that. I don't know. I just don't need validation like that, man. Okay, so he's talking about the book.
only thing that I have not been able to listen to all the way through all 3 times is the school chapter
Yeah.
because it
yeah.
is completely irrelevant to me and I don't care. So like after I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, I'm like, okay, next chapter. I'm done with the school conversation.
Yeah.
Same. When I first read it, I think I put the book down at that point, and then I went back and like reread the first parts because I was just like, this is not. I have no interest in working with children. I'm not in these systems. We're not doing this today. So yeah, completely get that.
So I know we're getting ready to get into the questions or the answers to the questions that you would want to provide. Just something that popped in my mind as somebody who works with people who could be in crisis. Have you ever had a client that you've seen repeatedly like grow an attachment with you?
Oh yeah, I would say like that happens with a lot of my clients because I see them usually from anywhere from like 6 months to a year. We're going on like maybe a year and a half at my longest client.
Do they fall in love?
When you see somebody once a week and you're talking to them for a whole hour, like there's definitely attachment that's built.
They're building the connection.
Has there ever been an attachment where you felt that it was dangerous due to the things that they would have going on mentally?
Oh no.
Okay.
No.
Pretty early on, I screened to make sure
I feel like
that the
she
people who
shouldn't
are
answer
seeing
that
me are at
question.
the right level of care. So I practice in private practice. So it's a lot more like low key kind of diagnoses and issues. So like something dangerous like that person would more likely end up in a hospitalized setting or in like an intensive program. So I just don't usually see it.
Gotcha.
Thankfully.
Yeah, that was actually a good question.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I know that from experience and like people that I know that people who have borderline tend to attach to their therapist really fucking hard.
Yes.
So that was actually a question that was on my list of things to ask her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You just beat me to it. one of the things that we wanted to talk about was how to identify the workless in the early 20s when it seems to be a normal job hop, etc. So we talked about the workless a lot in I think it was episode 24.
I don't recall which episode.
It was the first time we introduced choice theory
I
to the
would
podcast
know.
in terms of actual discussion.
Don't ask
And
me.
that was a very big holy shit moment for me because of the amount of people that write in that are like, my spouse doesn't work or he can't keep a job for more than 2 months. And I know that when people are young, like
Why-
like the
why
question
should they?
asked, there is a lot of job hopping. You don't know what you want to do for the rest of your life. You don't.
I had the longest I've had a job is 2 years. I worked at Walmart for 2 years. I worked in air conditioning for like 2 years, and I've had 6 jobs in the last like month, and it's like I've been doing this is video editing and recording. That's literally all I've been doing. I don't know what he's about to say here, but I will say that like hard work is a scam, and that well, not hard work is a scam. Like doing hard work on your own life, on your own business, on like everything, the way that you want to do it. Hard work in your own reality is not a scam. But corporate hard work or hard work for a company that doesn't give a shit about you, which is 90% of these companies out here, they don't give a shit about you. They will replace you in the next day. It's a scam. It's a fucking fat fucking L to take if you're working for a fucking corporation. I'm sorry. It really is. Like, at this point, we really shouldn't have Walmarts. We just shouldn't. They're fucking bad. They are really bad. In big corporation like that's, like, I can't. I really can't. The economy is so bad. It's so unlivable. I literally have, like, a low-income housing. I've made money, and then I've lost money because I literally have to take, like, months to regenerate or recuperate from being constantly killing myself, like constantly working my ass off, crawling around in 140-degree attics, fucking climbing around 12-foot ladders in construction, getting all fucking cut up and bruised up, and insulation in my fucking skin, having to take cold showers to keep my fucking pores like closed so that way the insulation doesn't go deeper and I don't develop fucking cancer. I don't care. I see 80. I had an 84-year-old working with me, an 84-year-old working in fucking HVAC. You know how fucking stupid that is? Most of those guys are ancient. There's like 60-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 70-year-olds, all working in construction, working service, working maintenance, doing fucking HVAC. It's fucking stupid. They will never retire. They never had the chance to, and neither will I. So why should I go out there and bust my ass all the time and kill myself when I should be able to take the fucking year just to rest, just to do whatever I want. I should. I really should. Fuck that.
So how does that work for I guess in your profession? How does that look?
I would say if you're trying to suss this out about another person, a really good place to look is not in the career realm, because like we established, I mean, it's pretty normal to job hop or career hop or change your mind when you're in your 20s, right? I would look more to, what does their day-to-day routine look like? Do they keep commitments to their friends and family? Like, or is there a general air of just
friends, yes,
winging
family,
it,
no.
going with it? Or like all the decisions made are usually will be based on like what's going on for them in that moment versus what they've committed to during that day. So last minute plan cancellations, a lot of like just
I do that.
flakiness.
I do that.
Because
Yeah,
that shows
fuck
up
that.
in workplace
Okay.
situations. You'll see it in your interpersonal life as well.
Just call out.
How does that
quit.
correlate to mental health though? Because I know that you said you're an introvert. I am as well. I'm one of those people that will make plans when I feel good, and then when it comes time to do something like 5 hours in advance,
Yeah, I
I'm
feel bad,
panicking
yeah.
and not wanting to do it, and I'm looking for reasons
Yeah.
to cancel the plans.
No. Oh, that's a terrible place to stop it on his face. I'm gonna leave it because it's beautiful. All right, so listen here, guys. You don't need reasons. You don't need excuses. If you don't feel up to the task, if you don't want to do something, tell that person. If they have a fucking problem with it, that's their problem. They received the information that you don't feel good and you want to stay home. If they sit there and try to peer pressure you and go, come on, man, come on out, or they try to be aggressive with you and say, oh, you're not coming in? Great, fine, you're fired. Whatever, that's their decision to be mad. That's their decision to be upset. It's your fucking life. You're a fucking monkey floating around on a giant space rock. Chill, bro. fucking who cares?
But when it comes to work, I don't do that because you have to earn. So I
Nah,
will cut my
no,
social
fuck that.
sessions real quick, but I won't
Fuck
do that when
work.
it comes to my work life because money's important to me more so than my social life.
Yeah.
So how does that pan out? Like, is that a good indicator?
I would say only if you're talking about someone that you're potentially
just
dating.
priorities
So we
are in check.
attend to the things that we value. So Chris, you really value work and striving and progress and like furthering your career. If you're potentially dating someone and you're trying to figure out, is this person like a part of like what, you know, Glasser would call the work list? If they say that they value you, but they're consistently breaking their commitments, that's kind of a different thing. So I would say like, it's not necessarily something you would see in friends as much. It would be more in the context of a romantic relationship.
Okay.
Are they not showing up for me?
That's a good question.
fair.
A lot of people are scared to ask them.
That's fair.
Yeah.
No, she just did that really well. She just basically, you know, solidified that it's more or less about relationships when it comes to that commitment wise. Like my friends don't want to hang out with me, they just tell me, and that's the people I put myself around. Like, yo dude, we're gonna hang out tomorrow, are you cool with that? Yeah man, that sounds good. All right, cool, we made plans. Tomorrow comes, hey man, I'm really not feeling good, I really just I'm anxious, I'm tired, and I just want to go to sleep, I'm very sorry. Done. You're good, bro. Take the time, chill out. If you just don't message me, or you message me like last minute and you're like, haha, just kidding, sorry, I ended up doing this instead, haha, that's a slap in the face. That's a big fuck you from me.
What about you guys? Did you think of anything that would indicate like this type of personality type when you saw the question?
For me, it comes down to I think of a mama's boy, somebody that's never had to really do anything because it's always been handed to them, and they get used to being catered to. And as they get into adult life, they're looking for that next person to cater to them so that they can just skate through.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, I don't have anyone in my life that is a workless because I don't surround myself with people who lack ambition. I don't understand that mindset. Frankly, it pisses me off.
All right, so listen, you're temporary. You are temporary. Your life is temporary. One day you're gonna die. Do whatever you want with it. That's one of my values, is do whatever you want with it. The hard work and ambition, I have that. I don't dislike that. I dislike doing, oh, you just have to suck it up and get a job that's going to destroy your body and fucking murder you. The only reason I've done it, the only reason I'm going to do it, the only reason I still do it and still have the place that I live at now is because I take care of my kids and I value them more than I value my desire to do nothing. Because I really don't like to do anything, but I don't like to be codependent either. I like to be independent. I like to get my own shit. I don't like to rely on other people. I don't like to rely on people to do anything for me, or I don't like to be codependent. Fuck that shit. That's stupid. I like to get my own money. That's why I've been doing video editing, because I don't want to be codependent, and that's fucking the worst thing for me to be, because it would literally mean that I could not take care of my kids, and that's something that I literally refuse to do. So, I mean, he's not wrong, but to be pissed off at people for not wanting to do anything, for not wanting to have ambition, I don't get that, because people not having ambition isn't bad. If you don't have ambition, good for you. If that doesn't bother you, then fine. If it bothers you, then sit down and find out what you want to be ambitious for. That's all I can say. Is it's up to the person. Like, if you want to do nothing and be fucking Gear 5 Luffy floating on a cloud, sleeping while the fucking ocean sounds are around you, being all beautiful and calm and relaxing, do that for the rest of your life. If that's what you want to do, if that makes you happy, do it. Fuck. This fucking work till you die shit is the most embarrassing fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like, even with my kid, my daughter's in her early to mid 20s, and she was that person for a long time, and like, we didn't connect very well because I don't understand not wanting to thrive.
You don't get the mindset.
Right.
I would pay attention to punctuality.
Like timing.
Yeah, if they're constantly late to shit.
Yeah.
Every time. It's a repetitive pattern, and it's always an excuse for
It,
it.
she says that to
That would be
me.
a red flag to me.
It's like 30 minutes sometimes.
There's
Come
a
on.
big difference between, like, kind of like what Chris was saying. Like, there's a big difference between the person who is anxious about a social situation and cancels like an hour before, is apologetic about it, makes an attempt to reschedule, all these things, versus someone
Right,
who's
I
like
just said
chronically
that.
showing up late, does this like last minute doesn't really offer, like any sort of reasoning, doesn't really offer anything to the situation. They're not
doesn't
trying to
care to
preserve the
explain
relationship
themselves.
because they're
Yeah,
only
yeah,
thinking
no.
about, okay, what's going on with me today?
Mm.
They're not like towing
Right,
that
right.
line.
Right.
A high level of selfishness.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that high
Yes.
level of selfishness, some people might label as narcissism.
No.
Oh man.
That yeah.
Ooh, all the way back around.
So reality
that
therapy,
full
is
circle.
that different from choice theory?
So
I almost want
reality
to stop it
therapy
here
is the
because I've been
practice of
recording
choice
for
theory in
37
a
minutes.
therapeutic setting. So like I would
Okay.
call
And we
myself
just
a
full
reality
circled.
therapist.
So reality therapy is practicing choice theory.
Strictly as a therapist, yeah.
As a therapist, okay. So as
Wait,
somebody
when they
who
say
counsels
reality
people
therapy,
in choice theory, how is that something you even begin to bring up to somebody? I'm very sure it's a shock to their system to go, you're making the
Okay.
choices, that's kind of fucking up your life.
Yeah, it is actually pretty difficult. And I would say, sorry about that. I would say first step is you have to establish a lot of comfort with your client. So there's a lot of relationship building and a lot more of the validating type of energy in the
Wow, I only got
beginning
like
of the
a quarter of the way
therapeutic
through this.
relationship. So the first couple sessions are going to look a lot more conversational and a lot more just like information collecting so the other person feels heard.
Okay.
And then there's a point once like a certain level of rapport is built with the person where it kind of switches, where I will start challenging more of what they're saying. So I'm listening for like little unconscious rules that we all have kind of going in the back of our head. Some of them are super helpful, others not at all helpful, and they're usually lacking in accountability somehow, or they're just like really like weird stuff we decided was true when we were kids. So I'm listening for those
Right.
things, and
Okay.
there comes a point where I'll start just being like, who told you that? They'll say something,
Yeah.
I'll be like, who told you that?
Who
Why is
put
it
that
that
in your
way?
brain?
Who told you it was that way? Just kind of
Who
pushing
manipulated
back
you?
a little bit against like
Where are the
this-
other drugs?
Like questioning
this
their belief
idea.
system.
Mhm,
Okay.
exactly. So that's how it kind of starts.
God-
is
God
like
told
there's
me-
a little bit of a pushback, and then they see that there's a safe space
Yeah.
in the relationship again to have a pushback, but like the therapist is not going to criticize you or judge you or abandon you. You can have
I'm going
pushback
to.
without there being a problem. And then from there, depending on the client, I will start to explain certain elements of choice theory when it like feels like they're ready for it.
Okay. How often do you have people become defensive or combative when you start bringing up choice theory?
I would say
This is a good one because I do this.
Not
Well, not for
super
choice
often with
theory, but
my
I do get
clients. I think
defensive
that
and
if-
combative.
it's something about like the way the relationship develops or like the people who are seeking me out
Mhm.
that like my ideal client typically is kind of ready for the information or they have it again running in the background all along. It just needs to be brought forward.
I mean, that made
Okay.
sense. Your ideal
What would you
client
say
would
your
be
average
easier to
age
handle.
group is for your clients?
I usually see people
Good
about
question.
18 to 35.
Okay. That's a pretty big age gap,
Mhm.
right? In
Yeah.
terms of like social standards. Do you think that people who have no life before
Socio.
social media has a harder time having the confrontational conversations than people who did? Like I would imagine talking to a 35-year-old would be easier.
I'm sorry. I just tried to spell social and I just accidentally spelled social. What the fuck is social? You societal standards? Is that what he meant to say?
Than talking to an 18-year-old when you're giving that pushback because they're used to having some sort of
I know-
confrontation in their life instead of just
I know
having
he
everyone agree with
believes
them on social
being
media. Because when you
older,
don't like something someone
obviously.
says on social media, you just delete them.
You block
There's
them.
not a
More
real
wise.
connection or friendship there. It's just a digital
Right. You just
leash.
throw them away, you know.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious how
Well, that's
that-
what. Okay, that's why when I like argue with people on like Facebook and online and stuff, I always try to be like, people actually think that just because I'm a hardcore piece of shit, like when I talk to people like over YouTube or I talk to people about people, that yeah, I'm really rough with them, like vocally, like on an Xbox Live or like just a Discord call. Yeah, I get really rough with people, but honestly, when I'm like typing things out on like a Twitter or like an Instagram or a Facebook conversation where someone's just being a real blown out bigot, I'm very nice to them. Like I will sit here and just be like, well, maybe, you know, it might not have to be that way. If you actually look at this evidence here, then perhaps maybe you could change your mind. I don't know. I do my best to cradle people online, but god damn it, do I love just absolutely tearing them apart. So, I mean, I hate to be that guy who always ends up cutting my reaction videos of you know, them short because, well, me and my girlfriend were watching some Skypiea earlier. We were actually getting to Skypiea in One Piece, and I mean, I'm caught up on Wano, so it was just super hyped, super excited. So go ahead, if you like this video, leave a like, hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell for that notification. More videos are going to be coming out. Go ahead and go subscribe if you haven't already. I'm pretty sure you have, because they got the big congratulations on that following for their 100,000 subscribers. That was awesome. I'm super happy for them. Again, we may not always agree on the same thing, because like I do have to cut this short, because it's like she's literally about to drop the kids off here in like an hour. I had to get ready, so like so I'm literally about to go and talk to her, and probably have to let her know that I made this. So love you guys, thank you, have a good day.
Complete.